This story is titled, "My brother was always the golden child. He mocked my job, my house, even my marriage. Then he tried to flirt with my wife at our family barbecue. She laughed with him. So I waited. Last month, I sent them both a letter that changed everything. You know what's funny about karma? It's like a boomerang that got a degree in dramatic timing. It might take its sweet time coming back, but when it does, chef's kiss. Let me tell you about how I orchestrated the most satisfying revenge of my life. Grab a drink. You'll need it. First, let me paint you a picture of my perfect life. I'm Jake, 34M, proud owner of a modest construction company. Not exactly Fortune 500, but it pays the bills and then some. My ex-wife, Madison, 32F, was this gorgeous marketing executive who could sell ice to an Eskimo. God, I was so proud when she said, "I do," 3 years ago. Funny how life throws curveballs, right? Then there's my dear brother, Travis, 36M, the golden child. Harvard Law graduate, partner at some fancy firm in Boston, and owner of a house that looks like it fell straight out of Architectural Digest. Our parents, Linda, 63F, and Robert, 65M, never shut up about him. Travis just won another case. Travis just bought a vacation home in the Hamptons. Meanwhile, I could have discovered the cure for cancer, and they'd probably ask if Travis helped with the research. But Jake, surely you're exaggerating? Trust me, I wish I was. Remember how I mentioned my construction company? At every family gathering, Travis would jokingly ask if I needed help filing for bankruptcy yet. Real comedian, that one. He'd pat my shoulder and say things like, "Hey, someone's got to build houses for the people I represent." Then he'd laugh that insufferable laugh of his, the one that sounds like a hyena choking on its own ego. But here's where it gets good. Last summer, our parents decided to host this big family barbecue. You know, one of those mandatory fun events where everyone pretends to like each other while secretly wondering if they can fake a medical emergency to leave early. They have this nice place in Connecticut, not Travis level nice, but nice enough to make you feel inadequate while eating overcooked hamburgers. Madison was especially excited about it. Too excited. Looking back, she spent 3 hours picking out her outfit, which should have been my first red flag. But hey, when you're wearing rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags, right? "It'll be fun," she said, fixing her hair for the 100th time. Travis always tells the most interesting stories. Oh, Travis told an interesting story that day, all right. One that would eventually lead to his perfect life crumbling like a house of cards in a hurricane. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Want to know the best part? They never saw it coming. Not Travis, not Madison, not even our parents. Because while Travis was busy being the golden child, he forgot one important lesson. Sometimes the guy who builds houses knows exactly how to tear them down. But that barbecue? That was just the beginning. And trust me, what happened next would make even a soap opera writer blush. You know what's hilarious about life-changing moments? They always happen when you're doing something completely mundane. Like when I caught my brother and wife playing tonsil hockey, I was looking for the damn ketchup. The ketchup. I mean, if your life's going to implode, it should at least happen while you're doing something epic, right? So there I was at this barbecue, playing my usual role of less successful brother, while Travis regaled everyone with stories about his latest courtroom victory. Mom was practically swooning, Dad was beaming with pride, and I was wondering if anyone would notice if I spiked the potato salad with laxatives. Just kidding. Mostly. Madison had wandered off somewhere, probably to powder her nose, or whatever excuse she'd given. Travis disappeared shortly after, claiming he needed to take an important client call. And stupid, trusting me? I was just worried about my burger being too dry. Oh, the irony. Here's where it gets good, and by good, I mean the kind of good that makes you want to laugh and vomit at the same time. I headed to the garage where Mom keeps her condiments, because apparently, keeping them in the kitchen like normal people is too mainstream. As I approached, I heard voices. Now, I'm not usually the eavesdropping type, but something made me slow down. That's when I saw them through the garage's side window. Travis had Madison pressed against Dad's workbench, the same one where he taught us both how to build our first birdhouse. How poetic. They were so wrapped up in each other they didn't even notice me standing there, watching my perfect life turn into a Jerry Springer episode. Want to know the really twisted part? Travis was wearing that stupid $5,000 watch I'd heard about for weeks after he bought it. It kept catching the light as his hands roamed places that made me want to gouge my eyes out. I remember thinking, at least he's getting his money's worth out of that watch. I didn't yell, didn't burst in throwing punches, didn't even clear my throat dramatically like they do in movies. I just stood there, watching, processing, planning. Because in that moment, something inside me clicked. Or maybe it snapped. Depends on who you ask, I guess. You see, Travis and Madison probably expected me to explode, to cause a scene, to give them the satisfaction of being the crazy, jealous husband. But that's the thing about building houses for a living. You learn that the strongest demolitions are always the carefully planned ones. So I walked away, grabbed my burger, even complimented Mom on her potato salad. Without the laxatives, unfortunately. I sat there for another hour, smiling, nodding, playing the role of the oblivious husband while my mind worked overtime. Because while they were busy stealing kisses in the garage, they had no idea they'd just handed me the blueprint for their destruction. And let me tell you, friend, what I eventually did with that blueprint. Chef's kiss. Remember how Travis always loved to joke about my little construction company? Well, he was about to learn that sometimes the guy who knows how to build things also knows exactly where to plant the explosives, metaphorically speaking, of course. But first, I had to sit through dessert. Ever tried eating your mom's apple pie while watching your wife and brother play footsie under the table? Trust me, it adds a whole new flavor to the experience. Though I've got to admit, watching them thinking they were being subtle was almost as entertaining as what I had planned for them. Ever tried telling your father that his golden child is actually fool's gold? Let me tell you, it's about as fun as performing dental surgery on yourself with a rusty spoon. I caught Dad alone in his workshop after dessert, supposedly fixing something Mom had been nagging him about for months. Really, he was just hiding from her endless requests to show Travis's baby pictures to Madison. Oh, if she only knew how familiar Madison already was with the grown-up version. Dad, I said, we need to talk about Travis and Madison. He barely looked up from the broken lamp he was pretending to care about. Oh, did Travis offer Madison a position at his firm? That would be wonderful. You know, with her marketing background. No, Dad, I cut him off. I caught them making out in the garage like teenagers at prom. The look he gave me? Picture someone being told that gravity is optional and birds are government drones. Jake, he said in that patronizing tone he'd perfected over years of comparing me to Travis, I know you've always been competitive with your brother, but this is beneath you. Competitive. Right. Because wanting your wife to not swap spit with your brother is just sibling rivalry. Dad, I'm serious. They were. Enough. He actually slammed down his screwdriver. Your brother would never. And that's when fate decided to play director in our little family drama. Because right through the workshop window, we had a perfect view of the patio table where the remnants of our barbecue still sat. And under that table? Well, let's just say Travis's hand was definitely not looking for a dropped napkin on Madison's thigh. You know that moment in nature documentaries when a predator realizes its prey isn't as helpless as it looked? That was Dad's face right then. His precious golden child was tarnishing right before his eyes. Son of a. Dad whispered, and I couldn't help but laugh. Technically, that would be you, Dad. He shot me a look, but I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. This isn't funny, Jake. Oh, but it is. It's hilarious. It's so funny, I'm thinking of submitting it to Netflix as a dark comedy pilot. We stood there in silence, watching Travis and Madison play their little game while Mom cheerfully cleared plates above them, completely oblivious. The irony was thick enough to spread on toast. What are you going to do? Dad finally asked, and for the first time in my life, he was actually asking me, not telling me what to do, not comparing me to Travis, just asking. I smiled. Not my usual smile, but the kind that would make the Grinch proud. Well, Dad, remember how you always said Travis was better at playing chess while I was just good at building things? He nodded slowly. What if I told you that sometimes the best way to win isn't to play chess at all? Sometimes, you need to rebuild the whole damn board. Dad looked at me for a long moment, then at Travis and Madison, then back at me. Finally, he picked up his screwdriver again, but this time with a different kind of purpose. Tell me more, son. And there we were, father and son, plotting in his workshop while the golden child played footsie with my wife under the family dinner table. If that's not quality family bonding, I don't know what is. Want to know the best part? Mom kept bringing us cookies, thinking we were finally having some man-to-man time. She wasn't wrong. We were just planning something a bit more interesting than your typical father-son heart-to-heart. But Jake, you might be thinking, surely you didn't rope your own father into your revenge scheme? Oh, my sweet summer child. When it comes to family betrayal, sometimes the best revenge is a family affair. And trust me, what Dad and I cooked up in that workshop, it would make Shakespearean tragedies look like Disney movies. You know what's fascinating about cheaters? They always follow the same playbook, like they all attended some secret, how to be obviously suspicious 101 seminar. Madison suddenly became a walking cliché of every cheating spouse ever, and honestly, watching her try to be sneaky was like watching a giraffe trying to be inconspicuous in a convenience store. First came the classic, working late, excuses. Funny how these important marketing meetings always seem to coincide with Travis's court preparations. Even funnier? Travis hasn't seen the inside of a courtroom in months. Dad's golf buddy works at the same firm and loves to gossip after a few beers. Then there was the phone thing. You know, that paranoid dance people do when they're hiding something? Madison started taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom. Because apparently, Instagram can't wait until after you've finished peeing. She'd jump like a caffeinated cat whenever it buzzed, and she'd developed this new habit of holding it at weird angles, like she was auditioning for a spy movie with really low production values. But my personal favorite? The mysterious friend Jessica who kept needing emergency girl time. Now, I might just build houses for a living, as Travis loves to remind everyone, but even I know that no one has that many emergencies. Unless Jessica was running an underground fight club for suburban housewives, something didn't add up. So, I did what any rational husband would do. I became a complete creep. Kidding. Well, sort of. Dad and I had a little chat about modern technology, and he happened to have this tiny GPS tracker from his hunting days. You know, the kind you're supposed to use to track deer, not unfaithful spouses. But hey, when life gives you lemons, you track those lemons to your brother's luxury apartment. Hitting the tracker on her car was embarrassingly easy. Madison was so busy texting Jessica that she probably wouldn't have noticed if I tied a mariachi band to her bumper. Just slipped it under her car while pretending to pick up something I dropped. Pro tip: if you ever need to look under someone's car, dropping your keys is way less suspicious than getting down on all fours and army crawling under there. The next day, Madison announced she was meeting Jessica for an emergency wine night, because Jessica was going through some stuff. Oh no, per Jessica, I said, probably overselling it. What kind of stuff? Madison froze for a split second, the same way my laptop does when I've got too many tabs open. Oh, you know, girl stuff. Girl stuff. Right. Because that's totally not the laziest excuse in the history of excuses. I waited until she left, then pulled up the tracking app on my phone. Want to guess where Jessica lived? If you said Travis's luxury downtown apartment, congratulations. You've won our grand prize of crushing disappointment in humanity. But here's the real kicker. The tracker showed them making a stop at a jewelry store before heading to his place. A jewelry store. Either Jessica had very expensive taste in emergency wine, or my dear brother was taking this affair to the next level. I called Dad immediately. You're not going to believe this, I said, and proceeded to narrate their little shopping expedition in real time like some deranged sports commentator. And now they're entering the building. Oh wait, looks like they're taking the elevator to the penthouse. Ladies and gentlemen, we have touchdown in Scumbag Central. Dad was quiet for a moment before saying, you know, son, I think it's time we move to Phase 2. Phase 2? Dad, we don't have a Phase 2 yet. Well, he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice, I think it's about time we gave your brother a taste of his own medicine. How do you feel about a little construction project? And that's when I realized that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the only one in the family with a talent for demolition. Metaphorically speaking, of course. But that's the thing about karma, isn't it? Sometimes it needs a little GPS assistance to find its target. You want to know something hilarious about cheaters? They're creatures of habit. Like clockwork, if you will. Which is ironic, considering they can't seem to keep track of whose spouse they're sleeping with. Thanks to my little deer tracker, sorry, Bambi, you'll have to find another hobby. I had their schedule down pat. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Madison had her yoga class. Apparently, Downward Dog was code for Uptown Affair. And every other Saturday was shopping with Jessica, which I guess technically wasn't a complete lie if you count browsing Travis's walk-in closet as shopping. Dad and I spent 2 weeks tracking their little romance novel in the making. We even made a chart. Yes, an actual chart, color-coded, and everything. Mom saw it once and thought we were planning a surprise party. Oh, we were planning a surprise all right. Their favorite love nest? Travis's penthouse apartment. You know, the one he bragged about at every family dinner? Jake, you should see the view from up there. Really puts your starter home in perspective. Yeah, that one. The view must be amazing, especially the view of my wife sneaking in through the private elevator. But here's where it gets good. Like, someone's writing a screenplay about this good. Last Thursday, I noticed they developed a new routine. They'd meet for lunch at this fancy Italian place downtown, La Milanos. You know, the kind of place where they charge you extra for the air you breathe. Travis always reserved the same private booth in the back, probably thinking he was being discreet. Because nothing says secret affair like regular lunch dates at the most expensive restaurant in town. Dad and I decided this was perfect. The stage was set, the actors were in place, and it was time for our little performance. We hired this courier service, very professional, very discreet. The kind that doesn't ask questions when you tell them exact delivery times are crucial. Our guy, Keith, 52M, looked like Morgan Freeman's cousin and had the voice to match. He was perfect. So there they were, last Thursday, sitting in their love booth, probably giggling about how clever they were. Madison was wearing that red dress I bought her for our anniversary, chef's kiss for the irony, and Travis had on his power lunch suit. You know the one, cost more than my first car. Right on cue, at exactly 1:47 p.m., Keith walked in. Picture this. Travis is probably midway through some courtroom story. Madison's doing that fake laugh she does when she's trying to impress someone. And then boom. Keith appears at their table like some kind of karma-delivering ninja. Mr. Travis Henderson and Mrs. Madison Henderson? Keith asked in that Morgan Freeman voice. Dad and I may have watched the security footage a few dozen times. Their faces? Priceless. Like they'd seen a ghost, or worse, their spouses. Keith handed them each an envelope. Thick, cream-colored things that screamed, important documents inside. The kind of envelopes that make your stomach drop just looking at them. Your signatures, please, Keith said, holding out a tablet. And they signed. They actually signed for their own destruction. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Travis tried to play it cool, of course. What's this regarding? He asked, probably trying to sound lawyerly. Keith just smiled. We paid extra for that smile and said, everything will be clear once you open the envelopes, sir. Have a nice day. And then he left, cool as a cucumber, leaving them sitting there holding those envelopes like they were radioactive. Want to know the best part? They didn't open them. Not right away. They just sat there, staring at the envelopes, then at each other, then back at the envelopes. Their food got cold. Travis's power suit suddenly looked a lot less powerful. Dad and I watched it all from a car across the street, eating popcorn. Literally. Dad insisted on bringing popcorn. If we're going to watch a show, he said, we might as well do it properly. But what was in those envelopes, you ask? Oh, my friend, that's the kind of reveal that deserves its own chapter. Let's just say it was something that would make even a divorce lawyer blush. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't served cold. It's delivered in a cream-colored envelope by Morgan Freeman's cousin. Ever watch those videos where people open their college acceptance letters? You know, all that dramatic buildup, the shaking hands, the suspense. Well, watching Travis and Madison open those envelopes was kind of like that, except instead of dreams coming true, it was more like watching someone realize they just got catfished by karma. Let me paint you the picture. They're still at Lou Milano's. Their $50 pasta getting colder than my ex-wife's heart. Travis, being the lawyer, opens his envelope first. Always got to be first, don't you, big brother? Now, remember how Travis always bragged about being Dad's executor of the estate? How he'd casually drop hints about managing the family legacy at every holiday dinner? Well, surprise. The letter inside was a formally notarized document stating that Dad had removed Travis as both executor and beneficiary of his will, complete with a personal note that read, since you're so fond of taking what belongs to your brother, I thought I'd help even the score. I swear I saw his designer tie actually deflate. But Madison's envelope? Chef's kiss that was the real masterpiece. See, what my dear wife didn't know was that I'd spent the last few months playing a little game called How to Legally Make Your Cheating Wife Regret Everything. Turns out, having a dad who's best friends with the city's top divorce attorney has its perks. Inside her envelope was not just divorce papers. No, that would be too simple. It was a complete financial breakdown showing that 1. All our major assets were legally in my mom's name. Thanks, Mom, for that early inheritance paperwork we did last month. And 2. Due to some clever prenuptial clause violations, Madison would have to give me half of her assets, including that fancy marketing firm partnership she just bought into. The best part? Travis immediately went into lawyer mode, probably already thinking of ways to fight it. But then he got to page 3, where our family lawyer, Dad's golf buddy of 30 years, had helpfully attached a detailed list of all the ways this was ironclad. You know that face people make when they bite into something sour? Travis's was worse. Madison started crying. Not cute movie crying. We're talking full-on raccoon eyes from her expensive mascara. She actually tried to call me right there in the restaurant. Like I was sitting by my phone waiting for my cheating wife to explain why she'd been practicing yoga in my brother's penthouse. But they still had each other, you might be thinking. Love conquers all, right? Oh, sweet summer child. Remember how I mentioned there was another gift coming? Let's just say that while they were busy having their little lunch date meltdown, Dad and I weren't just sitting in the car eating popcorn. Because here's a fun fact about Travis's precious penthouse. When you're too busy sleeping with your brother's wife, you might miss some important HOA notices, like the one about scheduled maintenance, or the one about water pipe inspections. or the one about not holding more than a certain weight limit on the balcony. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just say that while Travis and Madison were discovering their new financial reality, something much more interesting was happening 20 stories up. You see, Travis always did say I had a gift for construction. He just never specified whether that gift was for building things up or strategically letting them fall apart. Want to know the really funny part? They actually ordered dessert after reading those letters. I guess nothing says we just lost everything like splitting a $30 tiramisu. Though I doubt either of them could taste it through all the bitter reality they were swallowing. Ever watch those nature documentaries where they show a predator's empire crumbling in slow motion? Well, watching Travis's perfect life implode was kind of like that, except way more satisfying and with better comic timing. See, what my dear brother never mentioned during all those "I'm so successful" speeches at family dinners was that his fancy law firm was basically propped up by Dad's company's contracts. Oops, did I forget to mention that Dad's company was one of their biggest clients? My bad. Must have slipped my mind, just like Fidelity slipped Travis's. It started slowly at first. Dad's company just stopped sending new cases their way. When Travis called to ask why, Dad's secretary, bless her heart, just said they were exploring other options. You know, like how Travis had been exploring other options in my marriage. Then the other Henderson family businesses, all those cousins and uncles Travis loved to network with at holiday parties, suddenly developed amnesia about his firm's phone number. Funny how family loyalty works both ways, isn't it? Within 3 months, Travis's corner office started feeling more like a corner of shame. His partners were giving him those looks, you know, the kind that say, "We trusted you with client relationships, and now we're hemorrhaging money faster than a trust fund kid in Vegas." Madison, meanwhile, was struggling with her own problems. Turns out, when you're forced to give half your assets to your ex-husband, it's hard to maintain that boss babe lifestyle she loved bragging about on Instagram. Her last post was about learning to find joy in simplicity. Yeah, because simplicity was totally her choice. But the real entertainment came when Travis had to start selling things. First went the Porsche, you know, the one he used to park next to my pickup truck at family gatherings, just to show the contrast, his words. Then his designer watch collection hit the auction block. Watching him try to explain to everyone why he was suddenly wearing a Timex was better than any comedy special on Netflix. The law firm gave him an ultimatum: bring back the clients or buy out. Since his trust fund was now redirected to yours truly, thanks, Dad, Travis had to sell his partnership stake. At a loss. A big one. The kind of loss that makes accountants need therapy. But at least I still have my penthouse, he apparently told Madison over dinner one night. Mom's hairdresser lives in the same building, better intelligence network than the CIA, I swear. Oh, sweet, naive Travis. He didn't know about the little structural assessment Dad and I had arranged. See, when you know the right people in construction and city planning, you can make things happen. Like getting a luxury penthouse officially declared in need of urgent structural renovation. The best part? The HOA meeting where they announced the assessment costs. Travis's share? Just a cool $500,000. For mandatory repairs. Non-negotiable. Due in 30 days. I heard he tried to sell the penthouse fast, before the assessment news went public. Got an offer for $5,000. Not $5 million. Just $5,000. Because apparently, nobody wants to buy a penthouse that might need to be torn down for safety reasons. Who would have thought? The cherry on top? Madison moved in with her parents. In New Jersey. Travis tried to follow her there, but her dad, who apparently doesn't appreciate men who cheat with their brothers' wives, threatened to show him a different kind of legal action. So there he was, no firm, no penthouse, no fancy car, and no Madison. Just a Timex watch and a lot of time to think about his choices. But hey, at least he still had his Harvard law degree to keep him warm at night. Though I heard the frame got damaged in the move to his studio apartment. Such a shame. Remember how Travis used to say I'd never amount to anything with just a construction company? Funny how life works out. Because while he was watching his empire crumble, I was building something much stronger, a reputation for being the guy who knows how to bring down houses, both literally and figuratively.